Erin here with Mako, and today we are going to review the glaze profile for our stoneware glaze, Cinnabar. Cinnabar is a vibrant red glaze that breaks over texture and has a semi-opaque coverage. So here we're showcasing our fired results at cone 6 on a white stoneware body. Our label here states that the firing range is from cone 5 to 10, which we will review the varied results with these different firing temperatures in this video. On the side here we have our ACMI seal, the dinnerware safe notation, as well as our lot number, which you'll want to use if you if you have any technical reports. And then the back here we just have basic instructions. Cinnabar is a really straightforward glaze to be using. We're not creating a lot of mobility or interactions with this glaze, so it's really just a nice opaque red glaze. So here we have actually first I'm going to do an application with Cinnabar just to showcase good application tips, and then just to see what the glaze looks like. So first you want to give it a good shake. Got that deep red color. And then I'm going to glaze this tile just like I glazed these tiles here. So I like to really swirl my brush in the glaze here to make sure it's nice and loaded. And usually by the time I get to my tile, I'm like the glaze is kind of still dripping off the brush almost, because I want to put this on nice and thick. If your brush is dragging or you making any noise at all, if you hear it catching on that bisque, that's how you know you want to put glaze on a little bit heavier. And since Cinnabar is such a stable glaze, you can really put it on nice and thick without having to have much concern about it. So we've got our first coat here. It's taking a couple seconds to dry, but still drying relatively quickly. So that's how we know we got a good application. Here we have our cone 6 results with this glaze. So we've got 1, 2, and 3 coats. As you can see here, it builds in color saturation and opacity as the coats are added. Even at 3 coats though, we do have breaking over texture, so keep that in mind. It's not 100% opaque. We do have a bit of translucency to it. You can even see some of this lighter bisque color coming through even with 3 coats. So just keep that in mind. We do have a nice vibrant red color, but we are going to break over texture. Here it is on a flat surface. And you can see it doesn't quite have as much variation there, so it does look pretty opaque on flat surfaces, but you are going to see that breaking when it's over top of texture. So here are the cone 5 results, which are pretty much indistinguishable from the cone 6 results. So just know that there's pretty much no effect if you fire it a little bit lower. The glaze is still going to fully mature at the cone 5 temperatures. All right, our tile is nice and dry, so we can apply our second coat. So this was maybe a little heavier than I wanted, so I'm just gonna pull some onto the back. If I left it this thick, I would end up with drips from the glaze. So I just want to eliminate any drips that's going to happen, because I do want an even application with this glaze since it does let some light through. I don't want it to look streaky or have any drips show up. So here's our second coat. So this will take a little bit longer to dry. You see it's not even drying in the first couple seconds, so we'll let this sit for a few minutes. And then we'll review our flux results with Cinnabar. So Cinnabar is actually the glaze that we use to showcase flux on our chip charts and on our website. So this shouldn't be unfamiliar sight to you if you have used flux before, but on this we have flux under Cinnabar, which is actually the opposite of what we do on our tiles. So this side might be a little bit informative. We put 2 coats of light flux, 2 coats of dark flux, and then 3 coats of Cinnabar over the whole thing. The flux being underneath the Cinnabar did create a nice amount of interaction with the glaze, which is really pretty, and the dark flux showed up as blue, which looks great with that red from the glaze. And then on the back here we have flux over Cinnabar, so this is how we have it glazed on the tile. Cinnabar sometimes does these like little pinholes here. They're not pinholes, but like they're little dots throughout the glaze. So you'll see it on this combo here, and it shows up with birch sometimes, but not always. So I'm not really sure what causes that, but it looks really cool. I like the pattern that it comes up with. Pretty neat. And then here we have our cone 10 reduction results. So you can see compared to the cone 6 results, we do get quite a bit darker. So here's 3 coats. So we're still break over texture though, but we do lose a bit of that brightness from the red. It's closer to a brick red or a reddish brown color with cone 10. And then here we have cone 10 with flux over. So here's how it compares to the cone 6 results. It seems like cone 6 kind of interacts a bit more with the Cinnabar, and the color is a bit brighter. Next we have it here on different clay bodies. So whenever we fire on different clay bodies, we do fire to cone 6 with a 10-minute hold to alleviate any possible surface texture that occurs from the outgassing of raw materials in the different clay bodies. So here we have it on a white speckled body. Nice bright color, breaks over texture still, and awesome finish. Cinnabar seems to play really nicely with different clay bodies. It's not very sensitive, so that's really nice. Here we have it on a speckled brown. Still a beautiful finish, and even some of those speckles come through, creating a bit of variation with the glaze. And then here we have it on dark brown. Still a wonderful surface, breaking over texture. I love this contrast of the dark clay body with this bright glaze. So these all look really, really good. We'll go ahead and get our last coat on this tile here, and then we'll review the combinations. So we've got 1, 2, and 3 coats. Get our 3rd coat on. Just want to ensure that your application is nice and smooth. And then on the back. So as your bisque gets saturated, you might need less glaze on your brush to get a smooth coat. Since it's nice and wet, it'll go on really smooth. So there we have it. So this should turn out like this if we fire to cone 6. And then here we have our combination. So as I had mentioned previously, Cinnabar is a very stable glaze, so any mobility that happens in combination is basically going to be due to the combo glaze being a bit mobile. So here we have frost blue over Cinnabar. Like I said, we have these like little pulls from the glaze on top, which is kind of a cool effect. So we put 2 coats of Cinnabar on the whole thing, and then 2 coats of frost blue just to the bottom of the texture. So you can see it sagged a bit where it was really heavy here, but for the most part it's a pretty stable combination. We have a semi-matte finish with little specks of bursts of gloss in there, which I love having that contrast. Here we have birch over Cinnabar. So we do have some combos posted that have it showcasing this way, which I have seen before. but also I see it not showcasing that. So I'm not really sure what causes it to happen, but just be prepared. Sometimes you just get this nice cream color that breaks with a beautiful warm reddish. So you can see the birch did add a bit of mobility here, but that Cinnabar is nice and stable, so not too much. And then here we have our satin patina over Cinnabar. And you can see here the Cinnabar on the bottom is completely eliminated due to the high mobility of the satin patina being layered with the Cinnabar. So all this movement is from the satin patina. You get a nice gloss and then this pooling of the matte underneath. And that's a really common feature for the satin patina. Just make sure you're reseating those coats so you don't end up ruining your kiln shelf. And that is all that I have for you today regarding Cinnabar. If you have any questions or comments, we love to hear from you. So please leave that in the comment section. And I really hope that this was helpful for you today. And as always, make it Mako.